Hi, let's talk about energy. Moldova is a landlocked country located in Europe between Romania and Ukraine. Moldova has 2.5 million inhabitants and a big problem. The separatist self-proclaimed state, the so-called Transnistria. Transnistria is a pro-Russian separatist state located in eastern Moldova on the border with Ukraine. It has 400,000 inhabitants and a hybrid form of economy of communism, corruption, and free market on a scale sufficient to satisfy oligarchic appetites and leave the population to small business, which in Transnistria consists almost entirely of cigarette smuggling and the shadow economy. In addition to the desire, politics, and ideology to remain in the pro-Russian orbit, there is also the native Russian army and military equipment, Russian budget financing, and energy dependence on Russia. Energy dependence is reflected in the fact that Transnistria buys Russian gas from a Russian supplier, which it does not pay, and produces electricity in the gas-powered Moldavska GRES power plant and sells it to Moldova. It also produces metal waste in the Moldovan metallurgical plant MMZ, which sells both to Moldova and within the EU countries. Revenues from the gas that are realized by charging citizens allegedly go to the budget of Transnistria. Revenues from the sale of electricity allegedly go to the budget of Transnistria too, which is not entirely clear because the owner of the power plant is a Russian oligarch. The owner of the metallurgical plant is also a Russian oligarch, and the owner of the supplier of gas, Moldova Gas, is the Russian national corporation Gazprom and the local government of Transnistria. The Moldovan state is represented only with 37% of shares. The flow of money is not entirely clear, but it is estimated that the Russian state directly or indirectly finances 50% of Transnistria's budget. Why have Ukrainian and Moldova agreed to this combination for 30 years? Good question. The interest of protecting the population from the energy crisis in case of interruption of gas supply from Russia via Ukraine and gas and electricity from Transnistria to Moldova? Maybe. Corruption? Maybe. Avoiding the escalation of the economic conflict with Russia? Avoiding escalation of military conflict with Russia? Or something else? In the area of energy dependence, things have changed for the better in recent years, especially after Russia's full invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Here's what happened. From 1991 to 2019, Gazprom, Russian national company, supplied 100% volumes of gas to Moldova through Alexievka and Graberniki connections, which go to Vulcanesti and further to Trans-Balkan pipeline. Gas transported is handled by Moldova Transgas in Moldovan part of the country and by Tiraspol Transgas in Transnistria separatist region. In 1995, they formed Gasnap Transit with questionable ownership shares. In 1999, they formed the Moldov Gas with the same problems, and today there is a legal dispute over shares of ownership, debts of Moldova and debts of Transnistria. In 2006, Moldova formed new 100% state-owned company Energocom for gas and electricity. In 2019, they reversed gas flow from Russia to the Black Sea region via the Trans-Balkan gas pipeline. In addition, new Aniev-Drochia-Alexievka-Kernavitsi gas pipeline was constructed and runs gas from European markets to gas deposits in western Ukraine. In 2021, Gazprom reduced the volume of gas delivered, and because of that, Moldova, through state-owned company Energocom, covered the shortfalls by buying gas from European traders and bringing it from the west through Alexievka and Iasi, Romania direction. In 2022, Moldova will diversify gas supplies by full construction of the Iasi-Ungheni-Chinasau gas pipeline from Romania. In 2023, this gas transmission system was handed over to the management of West Moldova Transgas, a subsidiary of Romanian Transgas. Furthermore, in October 2023, gas purchased from the European markets has a lower price than gas under the Gazprom contract. Interesting. Energocom to Moldovgas, $605 per 1,000 cubic meters. And contract with Gazprom to Moldovgas is $830 per 1,000 cubic meters. Thus, in 2023, Moldovan consumers saved over $60 million. Most of the gas was purchased from the Greek company DAPA, which has 2 liquefied natural gas terminals, and where gas from different regions of the globe is brought and sold. Gazprom has been supplying Moldova with less than 40% of what it needs for cold season since October 2022. And all the gas from Russia has since December 2022 gone to Moldovska GRES power plant in Transnistria, generates 80% of Moldovans' electricity in return. Electricity. And what about electricity? From 1991 till 2025, Moldova was buying electricity from Moldovska GRES power plant Kuchurigian in Dnestrovsk. As of 2025, Moldova constructed high-voltage power line from Romania, Vulcanesi to Chinsau, and that secured electricity supply independent of Transnistria power plant. In addition, they are building the Balti-Suceava power line. And more details about Moldovan debt situation for Russian gas supplies from 1991 till 2021. The data was audited by Norwegian and UK companies, and they established the following facts. Transnistrian debt, $7,608,836,836. Moldovan debt is $756 million. Because of the various factors like corruption, Russian state monopoly, mismanagement, and unfair business practices, Moldova can write off all of the debt and the matter is litigated in courts. About $165 million overbilled penalties because of Russian pressure on the Moldovan government, $47 million in devaluation of assets, and about $400 million of arbitral awards, about $143 million unauthorized investments in headquarter building, and about $160 million in lost transit revenues of Moldova Transgas, and maybe penalties from breaching of supply contract from 2022 until now. In addition, Transnistrian debt must be offset in Gazprom, Russian state-owned company. First, because they have 63% of ownership in Moldova gas supplier of gas for Moldova. And secondly, because of the time passage. And now, something interesting. What will happen to Transnistria? Its budget will be depleted. And maybe this means that Moldova needs to start preparing a reintegration plan. And maybe they must prepare people who can govern in Transnistrian region and need to find judges, prosecutors, teachers, doctors, and so on. And Moldova must be prepared from the economic consequences, because for some time in Transnistria they'll have to subsidize businesses, ordinary consumers, and housing and utilities, which are now living on essentially free gas and will not be ready to pay its market value immediately. But it is the good news, because maybe Moldova can be reintegrated in full